Good morning, Krusty Crew. I had a funny dream last night, and I just thought maybe you guys would find it mildly interesting. Anyway, here's the dream. Oh, and by the way, yes, I have roommates, but as far as I'm aware, they're out of the house. I'm gonna double check just to make sure though, because they were out of the house all day yesterday, so I'm thinking they went somewhere for the weekend. Let me just double check. Okay, well, I live in an upstairs bedroom, and one of my roommates lives in another upstairs bedroom, and my third roommate lives downstairs. So really, I just have to check if that one roommate's there in order for me to record. Anyway, so me and a few of my friends, I don't know who my friends were. They were none of my friends in real life. I did not, in real life, I don't recognize any of these people. But in my dream, they were my friends. And we were at our universities. Yes, I'm still in college, or in the dream. We were at our university's football field. Maybe that has something to do with the fact that the Super Bowl is tomorrow. And we find this big, like, metal grate trapdoor opening in the ground right next to the field. And it leads into this factory looking place. If you guys have ever played Lies of P, if you remember the Vanini factory, the color scheme and the metal looks a lot like that. So me and my friends are just looking at this big trap door in the ground, and we were like, ooh, this place looks abandoned and interesting. We should explore it. Because if they built a whole university on top of it, then this has got to be abandoned, right? So we start descending down the trap door. There's a little ladder on it, and the ladder's covered in all of this sand and stuff. Or yeah, sand. And so we descend through the sand slash ladder, and then I think no, the ladder doesn't disappear. It just gets partially buried by the sand. It's just a ladder covered with a bunch of sand. Anyway, we go down the sandy ladder and we're inside the steel factory. And it's really hot in there because we're underground, and I guess the heat from the factories like compressing it, which makes sense because it's supposed to have a high enough temperature to melt the steel. So we're just in there walking around, looking around at the big steel factory. We get to see all of these metal grates everywhere. By the way, we keep descending. We keep descending through the factory, walking through the hallways. We see all of these big old hallways with the manufacturing lines carrying the steel everywhere. We keep going further and further, and the further we go, the hotter it gets. It's so hot in there, and we keep commenting on it. But we keep going because we're adventurers, we're explorers. And also, for some reason, everything inside the steel factory is lit. Now, I didn't put the pieces together in the dream that because the factory was naturally, or not naturally, because it was lit up, that must mean that there are lights, and that must mean there's still electricity running to the place. Or actually, wait. Okay, in some parts of the dream, it looked like there were orange lights, right? But in other parts of the dream, it looked like there were just natural light coming in from the outside. Like in Vanini Works, there's this part where a door opens up to this sludge river, and natural light comes in from the outside of that section, right? It's the one with the puppet of the future, I think. I think that's what it's called. But anyway, at some points there was natural light coming in because we went in during the day, and other points there was orange light. But anyway, for the most part, we still thought it was abandoned. And we keep going down, down, and down until we find a couple of workers. Yeah, they're just in the steel mill. So it turns out this place is still going. What's weird is that I don't remember any sounds. I don't remember any steel manufacturing noises. But there are still two people down there. I guess it was just an off day, or a not much work was to be done that day. But anyway, there were two workers there. They had these blue uniforms. They were quite fit and they had big smiles on their faces. And they're like, "Hello, everyone. Hey, guys." Except they didn't say that. because they actually one of the guy who greeted us, or I mean both of the guys looked friendly. They had big smiles on their faces, but one of them started speaking to us and he only spoke Spanish. But that what's weird is that he was speaking Spanish, but I in the dream didn't recognize it even though it's my brain who caused him to speak Spanish, which I think is interesting. But anyway, one of my friends speaks Spanish. And so he was able to fluently communicate with the guy who greeted us. And then both of the guys took us over to this board or to this little room, or not little room. It's kind of a bigger room. It's a medium room compared to like the big hallways of the steel factory. This was a smaller room because the ceiling was much lower. But it had all of these blue screens all across the walls. And then they turned on the blue screens and or I was like drawn forward. I don't know if my friends pushed me forward into the center of the room or if I was just walking forward into the middle of the room just naturally, or if one of the no, maybe one of the workers like beckoned me. Yeah, no. That never mind, that makes more sense. One of the workers like beckoned me closer to the middle of the room, and then on the screens popped up job application questions. Like I don't remember any of the exact wordings of the questions, but I know conceptually the words on the screens were things that you'd see on a job application. Like, I don't know, voluntary disclosure of disability or something like that. But then I started filling out the questions as if I was on autopilot, and then I realized, oh shoot, wait, no. I don't want to work in the steel factory. I think I'm good. I think the guy must have still been speaking Spanish and just assuming that I was there to look for a job. But anywho, I got out of that room. I walked away and I looked at one of my other friends who is bald. I don't know how that's relevant to the story, but he's bald and he's working on well, I got hair on my face, and he's working on making I think some sort of soup. For some reason, the words that come to my mind when I think of what type of soup was it? Shrimp gumbo. Mm. But anyway, my friend was just in another room of the steel factory with a big old pot. I guess this was their kitchen and dining area full of shrimp gumbo, and he was cooking a huge pot of it for everyone. It's like a mega wok. So then we all gather around the table, and then I think it's around this point where we all start gathering around the table to eat the shrimp gumbo. It was then that I like immediately woke up and I was just buried under my comforter in a puddle of sweat. I was drenched and it felt really hot under the blanket. And I was like, oh, and then I got up like right away because I had to get the heat off me. And immediately, or actually, no, I pulled off the comforter partially to feel what it was like for the heat to dissipate through the sweat. And I was like, okay, screw this. It's way too hot on my legs. And then I got out. So yeah, I descended into a hot steel factory because I was hot in real life. So I thought that was funny. And the reason this doesn't usually happen, like I stay in bed for so late in the day. Last night, me and the boys played a ton of video games last night, specifically Power World, fun game. Except I got my ass beat constantly, but fun game. So, because we played late into the night, and so I slept late in the night, and I woke up late in the night. And the thing about the place where I live is that it gets really cold at night, and the temperature heats up a lot in the morning. And normally I'd be out of bed like let's say 8:30 in the mornings. I'm trying to wake up earlier than that, but recently over the past like this past week I've been waking up at 8:30. But because me and the boys played so late last night, when I checked my phone when I woke up this morning, it was 9:48. So I was in there for over an hour longer than I usually am, which then caused The Steel Factory dream. Anyway, I hope that was some sort of mildly interesting event for you guys to hear about. I don't know if y'all will care. Probably not that much. But now it's now you have the option to like it. Anyway, I will catch you guys when I have another weird eye dream. See you later.